The other day I talked about the therapeutic effects of animals with children with autism. So today I'm going to show how Draven comes alive when he's around animals versus when he's around a bunch of people. As you know, our cat passed away yesterday, and I got a hold of the shelter that I got him from last night and told them the news, and they all know Prattle because he was in the shelter for 3 years before I adopted him, and the workers would take him home sometimes, and just everybody loved him. So since I adopted him 4 years ago, the shelter's expanded, and now they have different rooms. And there's one room for cats that's called the Not So Perfect room, and that's the room that Prattle would have been in. That's the room with the cats that have extra limbs, missing limbs, the ones that are not perfect, but just as lovable. So tonight at 5 o'clock, me and the kids are going there, and they're going to do a special memorial on the wall in the Not So Perfect room for Prattle. So the kids will get to spend lots of time with all of the not so perfect, yet perfect cats. And that's where I want to show Draven before and after. I want to show him when he's around the people and then when he's around the animals. And the huge difference it makes in his attitude and just his overall well-being.
You want guppies. You want attention, huh? Oh.
No, like, yeah, guess what he did? He was standing right here to jump all the way to here.
Yep, there it goes, jumping around again. It likes it. On the kitty. It's taking medicine.
Yeah, first off, I thought this was a chair.
Yeah, it does kind of look like one.
Yeah, and then I just...
Draven, did you like seeing the cats?
Yeah,
How'd that make you feel?
very happy.
Today I'm making up for day 27 of the 30-day autism story. There was almost a 12-hour gap between the time I said what story I was doing today and the time that I actually got to start my story, which is right now. And why is that? Because there is a full moon tonight and tomorrow night, and my kids were off the walls. Every month when it is coming up on a full moon, I start seeing dramatic changes in my kids. Destin starts becoming increasingly violent, as you saw yesterday. He starts stuttering very badly. His OCD things become more prominent, and he has to have them more routinely than usual. The way he hits himself becomes more aggressive and more often than normal. He wakes up 10 or more times in a night. His screaming goes continuous all day. All day. And anyone who is snapping me today can confirm that because it was very obvious. All those things are just Destin. Draven is my emotional one. His emotions skyrocket. Every little thing, every little look, every little drop of anything sets him off during a full moon. Sensory overloads are full-blown during this time with both of my boys. If you type in on Google full moon and autism, the whole web blows up with articles about it. Today I messaged great guy number one, who is an in-home behavioral specialist with adults with autism, and I told him how my kids were acting. His response was that it's a full moon, and all of his clients were like that as well. So what causes it? The exact reason is not known, but there are a few scientific theories to it. As the moon affects the tide in water, they say that it could disrupt the alignment of water molecules in the nervous system, causing that to affect the brain, causing a disruption in brain activity, causing behavior to intensify and worsen at that time. The full moon affects us all. We just don't really notice it. But again, their systems are far more sensitive than ours. And it doesn't just have effects on people with autism. I used to be an in-home caregiver for people with Alzheimer's, and it affects them as well. We always knew when it was full moon to be on alert, because Alzheimer's symptoms would come out full-blown. While I was reading about it tonight, there was a few articles that say, full moon and autism debunked, it does not affect behavior. Well, obviously, they've never lived with someone with autism, and they have no clue how big the change is. There is some kind of link between the gravitational pull on our bodies during a full moon. Doctors have reported that during a full moon, the blood doesn't clot as easily during surgery, so it's sometimes a bit riskier. It's actually a very interesting subject if you sit and think about it. And even more interesting that scientists can't explain it. But for someone who has a child with autism or works with people with autism, you don't need a lunar calendar to tell you when it's a full moon, because their behavior will tell you when it is. Buddy, what's the matter? What? Destin,
Wait.
what are you talking about? What, Destin?
I want popcorn.
You have popcorn.
Mom!
What?
Mom!
What?
I want that popcorn up
No,
there.
you have a whole bag already.
Yeah.
Destin!
Mom! Mom! I'm tired of this kid. Mom!
Destin! Stop! If I walk towards Destin, he's going to sprint. Destin, come on. Look. Come on. Come here. My fear of him bolting is the road is right there. And whenever I walk towards him, he takes off.
Get up! Get up!
Destin has figured out how to open the gates in the backyard. That's how he got out and into the alley. And that is extremely scary for me, especially the way that he bolts. Today's story is to make up for day 28, and I actually find this one very interesting. I've recently learned about this one myself. The link between autistic children and water. And this doesn't apply to all autistic children, but a huge majority of them. Water is a major comfort for them. If you've ever seen on the news when an autistic child goes missing, the first place that they look is where is the nearest body of water. And tragically, most of those cases don't turn out well. The child either drowned or had hypothermia. But why are autistic children drawn to water? Autistic children, as I've said before in my stories, their bodies feel things 100 times more than ours do. Now, think about you having a very long day at work, or you're just so stressed out and you feel a hot bath. How do you feel when you sit down in that bath? It's that moment. That's the way water is for children with autism. It's extremely comforting. When they're in the water, they feel more in control of themselves. They feel safe. They feel just wrapped in comfort. Which is why water therapy is usually a huge success for children who have sensory issues. So when an autistic child wanders off, they are automatically drawn to water because that's safety, that's comfort, that feels good to them when they're scared. Destin is obsessed with water. He's always in the sink. Buckets of collected rainwater he finds outside, puddles, everything. In fact, the park in my town is right beside this huge lake. I won't take him to that park. I'm too scared. I'm afraid to turn my back for a second because I know he would be right down to that water. And like I said, that is not the same with all autistic children. Draven has a fear of water. It scares him, always has. It all depends on the individual and their sensory processing, whether they like it or not, but a majority of kids with autism do. It's only going on 1 a.m. here, so later today, I'll show you how much I have to get Destin out of the water during the day. I have a small above ground pond in my backyard, and this summer I'm not going to be able to use it. It has water in it right now from the snow melting and the rain and everything, and when Destin's outside, he will not stay out of it. He will put everything that he can find outside in that pond just so he can convince me that he needs to get in there to get it out. Come to think of it, I bet I change his pants 5 or 6 times a day because he's always getting them wet from water he found somewhere. And as bad as this sounds, yes, that does go for the toilet water too. I have to watch him when he goes. And this is one thing I never really gave much thought about. I thought he just was always getting to water until my friend mentioned something to me about children with autism being drawn to water, and it clicked. That's completely right. Changing the subject. Some of the things that people have told me that my 30-day story has done for them, it's remarkable. One of the best things is someone said they now see things differently when they see a child throwing a tantrum on public transportation because they never know if that child has autism and can't help what they're doing, if they're actually having a hard time. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to do this, was to stop people from automatically judging and to think twice. Because our kids are not giving us a hard time. Our kids are having a hard time, and they can't help it.
Got it, Mom.
Good job. No. Come on, out of the water. This goes back outside. No. Oh, this can't be good. Oh boy.